I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I had more time. I saw the clock on the startup screen. It said I had more time. Well, you don't. You don't have more time. I started it late. My apologies. I'm trying to get this like hooked in here. I always have trouble getting this microphone hooked in because it's kind of the way that the little clippy thing works. It's a little weird. And I don't want it to like choke me or anything. Oh, anyway, I think we're good this morning. How is everybody doing? Uh, Welcome to my workshop. I'm going to do one thing real quick, and that is to just do an audio check here. I have to turn the audio off just for, or on. Okay. I just want to make sure that the audio is coming across and what you're hearing is what I want you to hear, which is the dulcet tones of my lovely voice. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since I've been in the shop. I was in here on Friday, and for those of you who were in here on Friday, you might have noticed that I had this lovely thing going on here with my eye. I actually had a fall and got knocked unconscious, ended up in the hospital, and it was a whole thing. So we're not talking about that today. We talked about that the other day. If you want to see that one, go check out my previous video on Oh My Aching Head. I think it's covered in there. Another thing it does cause is it's a little swelling over my eye here. My glasses, my normal glasses kind of got messed up. Let me take these off for right now. Those are reading glasses, so my regular glasses kind of got torched. I think it torched, but they got mangled up a little bit in the fall, which is actually what cut my head. We were pretty much thinking. But headaches are gone. I'm feeling better. I did do some work this weekend. Once I was feeling better, once the headaches had kind of subsided a little bit, I did get into the shop and do a little bit of work this weekend because I wanted to have some stuff caught up for today and for this week because it's a busy week and a lot of stuff going on. I gotta go see a doctor again tomorrow about this, and we're gonna have one more shop day this week, and then I'm gonna be taking a break for a couple of weeks, a week and a half, as I visit my my parents, and so there'll be no live streaming because my shop's not where they live. So there's that. But I have been doing some stuff in the shop, and we will get to that in a minute. There's a couple things I wanted to go over that you weren't able to watch, and some stuff that I did, and some things that showed up, and some other cool things. So anyway, let's jump into it with, let me put my glasses on. Hang on, let me get this remote thing out of the way here so that it's not in anybody's way. Kind of get that. Hang on, I got to tuck these. I would like to tuck the little wires in, the extra wires, so that it's not like it doesn't get caught on anything in the shop. Or my lovely Polaroid. This is vintage Polaroid. This isn't new Polaroid. This is when Polaroid was actually a thing. I've shot more like real Polaroid than your average bear. I mean, I'm talking like 8 by 10 inch Polaroid film. I've shot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sheets of it in my old job, because that's what we used to do. Is we didn't have digital cameras. If we wanted to have a setup and we wanted to shoot in a studio and you want to see what it's going to look like, boom, you loaded a Polaroid into your big view camera and you shot it. So that's what we did. So I have shot a lot of Polaroid in my day. And my family got me this shirt and I thought it was pretty cool. Not the janky Polaroid of later years that was like, oh, we're lame and we're just trying to make a buck here kind of thing. No, not that Polaroid. So on Friday afternoon, I was expecting some stuff to show up that I had ordered. And I mean, just random things. And excuse me. So I go out to my front porch and there's a box out there and it's like, oh, they didn't leave me a message or anything. And I go and look, and lo and behold, on my front porch are these awesome things right here. And you're probably like, I can't see what those are. So why does it do this? I started this camera. Hang on a second. It was started. I swear it was. Hang on. Let's see. I'm going to start it up here. Start, camera. I don't know why you're acting this way. Is it doing it now? Okay, it's acting up. I'm going to hold it till it turns off, and then I'm going to turn it back on. And then hopefully it'll show up. If it doesn't show up, there we go. God, I don't know why the thing is back and acting so weird. This right here and this right here, these are my Veritas honing guides that I've been waiting for months and months and months for sharpening blades right here. I've been waiting for untold months for these things to show up. They finally, with no fanfare, just appeared on my doorstep. There's the other part of it right here. And I was just giddy because I'd been waiting for these things for so long. And so the first thing I did was like, oh, I got to grab something and sharpen it. So I actually sharpened this blade right here. I don't know if you can see the sharpness on that. Anyway, I sharpened this thing. Ooh, it's sharp. I did some paring on the top of some wood, like on some end grain. Like this is some end grain right here. And I was taking this end grain and like going, oh, let me just go in here and let me see. And I was like, ooh, it's just shaving right off the top of that. I mean, I'm taking shavings off the top of end grain and it's like buttery smooth up there. So it works great. There are two of them. One is more specific for, like this one right here is more specific for narrow blades. It has a blade grabber thingy. So if I was going to do this one, what I would do, real quick, I guess I can show you, is I would take this setup guide right here and I set it up. I set this pin right here for the angle. So I'm going to get a little closer. So it has different degree markers on here that you can see how much of a degree, how much of a bevel angle you want on your blade. And then what you do is you set it to the width. So you say, oh, well, this is a inch and, I don't know what this is, inch and whatever. Or no, this is like 3/4 of an inch. So then you can set your blade depth here and you tighten this on. And then what you do is you turn this over and you take your blade and you slide it in and you run it right along the edge here and you match it up to that. And then this thing just magically comes over. Now, this thing actually needs to be moved over because it's not quite in the right spot. There we go. But you run that up to this stop and then this thing grabs it and like makes it straight. And then what you do is you take this off. Not this one, you take this one off. And then your blade right here is now set at the perfect angle. When you have a stone, you can go and sharpen on the stone. This one actually, it has two of these brass runners. So this one's curved. So if you want like if you have a wide blade that you want to have a curved, bevel-y kind of thing, if you're, especially for blades that are made for cleaning a lot of wood out at one time, a lot of times you'll bevel those edges and that will help you get a deeper cut without catching on those edges. So it has a little bit of a curved one, but you can switch it out. This one has a flat one right here. This one is made for doing much wider blades. So for plain blades and things like that, you can also do the chisel blades in here as well, which I actually did chisel blades in this one and it worked just fine. So anyway, I did a couple of blades. I did this chisel right here. And then I also did my little block plane, and the block plane was like, oh my God, it was so amazing. It worked so well. I was just thrilled with it. So I've been waiting forever and ever for this silly kit to come in, and it finally did. I was super thrilled. And I will be doing some sharpening, and perhaps one day what I will do is we will have like a sharpening party here on the live stream, and I will break out some of my plane blades and we will just go through and sharpen those plane blades, because once you have everything kind of set up, it actually flows pretty quick. And so anyway, hang on a second. Sorry, I have to respond to a message just from my wife, so I have to respond. So you know how that is. Maybe you don't, but maybe one day you'll have a spouse, significant other. They text you, you respond back. I will sending messages and put a little smiley face at the end because that's just how I roll. Okay, so anyway, so that was very exciting. It just kind of showed up. I think UPS dropped this off at my door. That's what it was. My doorbell rang. And I was like, well, what in the world is that? And I came over there, and because I had some stuff that was due in for the day, and I went and looked, and I picked it up, and I was like, well, this isn't what is it? And I was like, Woodcraft? What the heck? It was that. So it was very exciting. I was very happy that I got that in from Woodcraft, and the funny thing is, and I think I told you all this if you were here, that I had sent them a message and said, what's the deal with this thing? Because I ordered it months ago, and I sent a message to Veritas, and they said, yeah, we've sent those to Woodcraft, so you should have gotten it. And I never heard back from Woodcraft, and it was such a weird thing. I was actually going to be writing them again soon, and all of a sudden, boop, there it is. So awesome. I'm very happy. Money well spent. Absolutely. It's not cheap. This is, in the grand scheme of things, this is pretty expensive in terms of what you can get from other manufacturers. You can buy little jigs to hold your blades while you sharpen them and stuff, but the way this sets it up and gets the depth of the blade just perfect for the angle that you're making, and allows you to do repeatable sharpening so that you're not creating a new bevel each time and stuff. I can't tell you how amazing that is, and how it's worth every penny I spent. So I think this entire set, which is both of those guides and the setup guide thing, was I think $125, which seems like a lot. Veritas is a very good company. It's all super well made stuff. It's super solid, and it'll last me it'll last my grandkids. It's that well made. So hopefully one day I'll have grandkids. I don't have any yet, but hopefully one day I'll have them, and I can pass this stuff on to them, because it should last that long, if not longer. It's that well made. Kind of like my woodpecker 851 square. Not that I'm sponsored by Woodpecker, because I'm not. But anyway, so a very exciting day when this came in. I was super pumped about that, and I had to bring it out and sharpen something. I was like, I gotta sharpen something. So I sharpened a chisel that I use all the time, and I sharpened my block plane, and I will definitely be sharpening a couple of more items that I use often, because there's a couple of planes, like everybody knows that my low angle bevel up jack plane is my favorite, and that will definitely get a sharpen. And then a couple more chisels. I've got a couple more planes that after time maybe I'll save those for when we actually do some sharpening stuff. I'll set up a whole sharpening thing here, and we can do that. Okay, moving on. So that was the exciting thing. So moving on, I need to make a sign for a family member, and I had originally been going to do it. That is really the worst grammar I've ever heard. Anyway, originally I was doing it on this block of oak here. I've got a couple other ones that I've done, and I carve it on here, and then I spray paint it, and then I sand it down, and then cover it up. But what happened, even though I had painted this thing, I'd sprayed it with a ton of shellac, the black paint had seeped into the pores, because this is when you cut a board like this entire surface right here is actually all ingrain. This entire thing is ingrain right here. So when I did this, it actually soaked in so much that the black paint had soaked in the ingrain. So by the time I could actually get the black paint off, it had worn through too much. And I was like, no. So here's one that this is what it's kind of supposed to look like, is like this. I don't know if you can see that or not. But anyway, much better. This one's done. This one's going to be delivered soon. But I didn't have any more logs like that. And I was like, well, I really want to make this and want to do it. So what can I do? And I found this board. I think this is ash, some leftover ash that I had. I made a guitar speaker cabinet, big like 2 by 12 inch guitar speaker cabinet. It's really beautiful. But anyway, I had some ash left over from that, and I decided to go ahead and make that. I didn't want to have to do the whole painting and sanding and thing again. So I decided to go a different way and stain the piece. And then when I carve it, the carving will actually be lighter colored wood. So it'll still be contrasty and stand out. I was like, well, that'll work. So one of the things I wanted to do was to put a keyhole in the back. And a keyhole is basically, this is a keyhole. So your actually goes this way. Your nail or whatever goes in here and then slides up, and then the head of it is actually underneath the wood surface here, and then you can just hang it on the wall. And it's very flat to the wall and looks really nice. You don't have to use the little toothed saw hangers or whatever, the sawtooth hangers. So it's very nice. But as you can see, I had to do a couple test cuts. This one was a little janky. And it happened because I did not have this thing as secured down as I thought I needed to. You really need to have this thing secured down on the CNC machine when you do this. You can do this with a hand router and some other things, but I prefer to do it on the CNC machine because it's much more precise. I can put it exactly where I want. So this was my first cut. This was my second one. You can see, hopefully you can see this one right here. Much more precise, a very round hole at the top and then a very nice straight line here. So very much the precision here. I think what I found was that I needed to slow the plunge rate, which is how fast the bit goes down into the wood, and then slow the feed rate so it's not trying to dig in, especially since this was cherry and I was going to be doing it on ash. So I slowed the feed rate, slowed the plunge rate, and came up with a really, well, it actually will go this way. And there is my keyhole for this one. So that turned out really nice. I was very happy about that. And then I tried a couple of different stains. What did I try here? So I tried a couple of different stains on here. And I didn't like anything that was on here. It was just like, this was it right here. I didn't like anything that was on here necessarily. And so I finally went with the same stuff I used for the cherry, which is that Kona wood, or the Kona stain. And I think that turned out really nice. So this is the color that kind of came out with. So I think that turned out really pretty. I wanted to be able to still see the grain in here. I wanted it to still kind of pop and show the grain and everything. So here you go. So this I think turned out really well. I didn't do the back, so you can see the back is still plain. And there's my keyhole. So what I need to do is when I put this in the CNC to do the letter carving on here, because I'll do the letter carving up top here, I need to make sure that I have this keyhole up top because you'd hate to have to hang it upside down, right? So I need to make sure this is at the top when I put it in and secure it to the CNC machine. And then when it does its carving, it'll all be done. And then after that, I will top coat that with some lacquer or some sort of finish to get that done so that I can give it to the family member that it's supposed to go to, which is very, very late, by the way. I'm a bad, bad uncle. It's from my nephew. I'm a very bad uncle. So anyway, I need to get that done for them because it should have been done a long time ago. And I'm a slacker. What can I say? So speaking of the CNC machine, this will happen after. I'll do this after the thing today because you don't need to watch that. And it's loud and it'll take some time. But I did do some CNC work this weekend besides that one that I carved that I show you that didn't turn out because of whatever reason. What I should have done on that one, just kind of getting back to that, what I should have done on that one was put on a layer of what they call aura mask. And aura mask is, it's kind of a vinyl, think of shelf liners or drawer liners. It's a vinyl material that you can lay out over top and it sticks very, very well to the surface. You cut through it, whatever design you're going to do, then you paint, then you pull the whole mask off. And so the only thing that's actually removed is the areas that you cut. It got painted, and then it saves the rest of it from getting done. I should have put some Aura mask on there. I did not, and I ended up paying the price. So that's kind of what I should have done. And next time, it's what I will do. So. Sorry, my wife is worried about me. Um, so what did I do this weekend this weekend. So instead of making you sit here and watch the CNC machine, what I did this weekend on the CNC, I don't need both of these, I just need one of these, was I figured out how many of these baseboards need to have logos in them. So this is the logo right here. And hopefully you can see this. So there's the logo right there. This is the one of the Sapelli. This is the short Sapelli base that I'm making. And by short, I mean it doesn't have the storage compartment in the side. So, but right there you can see that I did the carving and it turned out really nicely. I like it when it turns out nicely. And I did this in, let's see, I have 8 bases already cut here. So I have 8 bases cut, and I did the logos in 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I left 3 of them without logos, so they'll be plain, and they'll be stained and stuff. They're just not going to have a logo on them, and I think that kind of satisfies my customers who don't want the logo, but most of them do. The one that I was kind of on the fence about, I wanted to do a logo, but I wasn't sure about was the base that I'm doing in maple. But I just don't think that it would have shown up because I'm not going to do a dark stain on there. And that's the beauty of doing the logos, is that when I put a stain on this wood, where I carved that logo, it's kind of all open fibers because of the carving process. So it accepts more stain than the flat sanded areas around them. And that makes it stand out more. I have done a logo on a walnut base before. And what I ended up doing was using that Aura mask, carving it. And I actually painted I painted black on the logo and then sanded off any extra. I stripped off the mask because there's a little bit of bleed because it's a lot of detail work. But anyway, and then I ended up sanding it so that just you could see that logo. But yeah, because the walnut was already dark and I needed something really black to make it stand out. But my problem is I don't want to spray paint I don't want something popping out that much on the maple. So I decided to leave that one plain. It'll look really pretty because it has a lot of figure in there, and when we get done doing that one, it's going to pop on its own. So that in itself is good. And then I left one of the long Sapellis, the Sapelli with a storage compartment, and then one of the cherries. So I've got a large cherry, a large Sapelli, and the maple that did not get logos, but all the other ones did. And like here you can see, oops, here's one of the oak. This is one of the quarter sawn oak boards. They got the logo carved in there, so it looks really pretty. It takes about a half an hour, give or take, for each one. Somewhere around a half an hour. I mean, if you add in all the setup time and everything for me to get everything kind of put in there. The nice thing is that once I get one set up, doing the rest of them is pretty easy as far as setup goes. All I have to do is kind of lock them in, put a couple clamps on, and then set the set the distance of the blade and such. So set the X, Y, and it's all pretty much, it hasn't moved. So everything is really fast and kind of almost automated at that point. But it's about a half an hour. So, you know, figure that out. 1, 2.5, probably almost 3 hours of CNC work. With, if you add up all the setup time and everything. So I did that yesterday. I think I did that yesterday. And they turned out really nice, and I'm very happy with that. So that kind of leads us to where we are today, which is, oh my goodness. So today what we need to do is get these things ready for gluing together. They are already cut to the dimension. They've had the handles put in there, so they've got handles. The ones that are going to get logos have logos. So all the flat work, you know, the work when it needs to be laying flat is done. And all we need to do now is do the joinery work so that we can start putting these things in clamps and getting them turned into boxes, basically. And in order to do that, I'll grab the short one first because it's probably the easiest. I'll tell you what, let me get rid of this stuff real quick here. Put this to the side, because I'll cut this after class today. We're not in class, I know that. But after I'm done today, I will cut that one. But let me show you what we're looking at here in terms of joinery. So this is a real simple one. This, we've got a front to the base right here. We have a back, which I wrote B short. So I knew that this was the short base and it's the back. So I write notes to myself on the board so I don't lose track. Then I have two sides here. These both have the handholds in there. So one fits here with the handhold out and down. The other one kind of, I need to move this way. Same way, out and down. So this is generally how things fit together, right? It's a box. But what I do with this box and the way I get my certain dimensions is that this right here is going to become a rabbet. So let me see if I can go over here and show you. So this is going to be a rabbet joint right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mill out, well, it'll be this thick, because I'm going to do it so that it's the thickness of this wood right here. So I'm just going to draw a line right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It'd probably help if I had some pencil lead out here. But so there will be an area right here. I don't know if you can see that. And then I will take away all of the wood right here. So I'm going to take away 1/2 inch of wood. So all this wood right here is going to go away. And I will do that over on the table saw. What I will do is I'll set this blade so that it is only 1/2 inch high and runs across here. I will use my guide and then run this back and forth until I take away all of this wood. That's going to give me what's called a rabbet right along here. So I've got an edge and an edge. I got a little 90-degree angle right there that this piece right here perfectly fits into that rabbet. If I've made all these cuts correctly, then what happens is that I take this measurement from here to here. Let's go ahead and measure it. And that should give me the measurement that I need, which is basically 7 1/8. Yep. So that's 7 1/8 inches on the inside. That is the perfect dimension that I need. It gives me about a 1/16 of an inch clearance for the sewing machine on each side of the base. And I do that on both sides. So I would do that on this end and this end and this end and this end. That's an easy one, right? The one that's harder is when I have the long base. I'll do the same thing on the ends, but when I have a storage compartment, what I need to do is I need to cut a dado in here and one on this side for that extra board. I'll borrow one for that extra board to go fit into. That creates the storage compartment right here. That storage compartment, I don't know if you can see it better on this. So that storage compartment right here is created by making this dado cut right here. The dado cut is also a 1/2 inch deep, so I don't have to change the depth of my saw blade. Once I get the saw blade height set up, it doesn't change. The only thing it changes is where I run the wood through to ensure that I'm getting the cut in the right width and the right space that I need it. So for the long ones, you'll get a dado cut right here, which will then, well, actually, my logo's here, so it would actually be down here. I like to have the machine, when you're looking at the logo right here, the machine's on this side, the storage is on this side. So I need to make the rabbet cuts down on the ends, and then for the long bases, I need to make these dado cuts where the centerpiece will slide in. So that's where we're at right now. That's kind of our method that we're looking at. And I need to, I mean, it's not all super simple because I need to make sure that I'm getting the depth of cut right. I need to make sure that the location of the cuts is perfect, that it's not sliding and moving, because all this needs to be very square and equal to itself so that everything kind of matches up and my bases aren't catawampus. That's a word, right? It is now. Anyway, so I think what we'll start is by setting up the saw blade to the right depth. That's the perfect place to start. And we need to do that over at the saw. So hang on a second. I think I've got I have the dust collection in there. I need to run the power over here because, you know, saws take power. And I need to get one item from my drawer over here. So pardon me while I step in front of you, but that's where I keep my measuring tools. This is my little, my Craig item that I use here. And this thing is great for, what was this thing called again? The multi-mark, the Craig multi-mark. So I use the Craig multi-mark for setting my depth. And what I will do is basically go through here and select 1/2 inch and set that up on here. And then I can double check that, like I can use another ruler to make sure that I'm getting, like this says it's like, I want to make sure I'm getting a 1/2 inch here. Is that a 1/2 inch? Really strange. This, I don't know why this ruler does not go, like it said that it was a 1/2 inch, but maybe not. Let's see, is that a 1/2 inch? So that says not 1/2 inch. But you know what I do have is a pair of calipers right here. And if I want to be really exact, I pull out my calipers and then I will set these to 0. And then I will come out here and go to 0.5 and try to get it exactly on 0.5 inches. It's not easy to do, but I try to get super close right there, 0.5. Wow. Well done, sir. And then I will use this portion of it to get my setting exactly right. And so this needs to actually be extended out just a hair more than I thought. Okay, so this right here and this right here are now as one. Maybe just a tiny bit more, just a freckle on a frog's butt more. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so that gives me a 1/2 inch. We will go over to the saw. We will set that to a 1/2 inch on the saw blade. So let's go over there. I think I have a camera set up for that. Oh, looky there, I do. Isn't that wonderful? So what I will do is, let me get my, I left my tools over here. You know, tools are useful and helpful. This is also a scrap of wood that I'm going to use as well. Now there's 2 ways to do this. One way is to, hang on, I'm sorry. I need one more thing, and that is my pencil. And if I don't take my pencil with me, I will be back for it numerous times. So one way I can do this is to just take this multi-tool and draw a line right here on the side of this board. So I just drew a line on the side right here. And now I can take that and I'm going to come down here and start raising my blade up and trying to match the height of my sawtooth blades. Sawtooth, did I just say sawtooth? I did. Trying to match the height of my blades at their highest point to that line. I think that might be it. So not all of them get to that height, but some of them do. So you need to make sure that you're getting the tallest teeth, because some teeth are flat, some are angled this way, some are angled this way, and there's a flat tooth. And you need to make sure that the tallest of any of those teeth are crossing right about that line. So the other thing I'm going to need is this thing right here. So this is basically a square, and it slots in the table right here. It is set to 90 degrees to the saw. So this right here is 90 degrees to my saw. And I'm going to get my square here, because I always like to check that just to make sure that this is giving me, and I check it by looking at where the blade hits in the front, and it should also almost be basically touching in the back. And that's pretty square right there. Okay, so we're square up here. Basically, I need a 90-degree angle right here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the boards through like this. So when I was talking about taking a little bit off and making a rabbet cut, that will be basically taking it off of the ends. So I will be passing this like this across that blade, and I will mark the edge from where that first board needs to go. All I'm going to use this board for is figuring out how much depth I need, or how much depth I'm getting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up with that blade. I'm going to move my coffee out of the way so it doesn't get filled with stuff. I'm going to get my ears here, and we're going to make one pass right on the edge of this board, and I'm going to measure that with my multi-tool here that's already been set to 1/2 inch. So let's do that. Okay, and all I did was take a really thin cut. I just wanted to remove the wood off the edge here, but that leaves me this little teeny lip right there that I can now take this and measure to make sure that I'm getting exactly what I need. So there should be no gap when I measure this. There should be no gap between this measuring blade right here and the top. There should be no gap, and that is pretty much perfect right there. So I am dead on with my measurements. So that's good. That's part one. So now we can actually start cutting some boards. So I'm going to set this aside because that's just my test board there. So what we need to do now is we need to get one of, I'm going to set this over here. Don't need that at the moment. I need to get one of my boards over here. Let's start with the short one because it's the easiest. It only requires the cuts on the ends, right? So what I need to do though is I need to mark how far in I need to cut these things. So the first things first, I know that because I'm gonna get this stuff out of the way here because I don't want any more on this table than has to be. So what I've got is I've got this right here. I know that I need, because here's the logo, this is the bottom of the base right here. I need a cut on this end and this end. Well, I need to figure out how far over that little rabbet's going to go. So what I will do is I'll take this right here, and actually what I'm going to do, because I'd already drawn on this, and I don't want that to influence what I'm doing right now because I don't want to get confused. So I'm just erasing that. I'm going to take this, which is the end base, right? And I'm going to put it down here. And I'm going to draw a line because now this is exactly how thick this needs to be, because it needs to match. I need to remove enough wood that matches this. I also need to remove that wood. Let me draw it on this side, on the correct side of the board. Like, I don't want to have this side down. Now I'm cutting a groove on the face side. So it needs to be on this side, and it's going to be about 1/2 inch thick. So what I will do is I will just kind of draw a line right here. I'm just eyeballing it. And then I do this so that I can see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I basically filled that in so that I know this right here is the part that gets removed, and I don't get confused, because that's the hardest part. Then what I'll do is I'll take this, here's the logo, I'm going to flip it around because this is the side that's also going to get cut. I will make that mark on this side for this board. And then I will make those same marks across here and then fill that in. The whole point of this is to not get confused. I want this side to be always facing up. I want to see that logo every time I do this. So when I do this end, I need a mark here on this side of the board. When I flip it around, if I made that mark over here, I wouldn't see it. So I need a mark on this side, but that logo is always facing me so I can see where I have to cut. Hopefully you see where that's going. I'm going to do the same thing with the back here. With the back, okay, so this side gets cut here. I'm going to grab another one of those bases, and I'm going to make that, or bases, one of the sides, do it really super flat against here. Make sure everything's squared up. Make my mark. And then I'm always going to draw those little lines on here so that I know that that's the material that needs to get removed. So now sitting here, I'm going to remove this material. And what I mean by seeing this mark is that when I go to line this up on the saw, I can see exactly where that mark is and start. Once I get the first one done, I'm just plowing through and removing wood. But that first one's critical, so I need to see that mark there. When I get to this side, if I've marked it over here, that doesn't help me any. So I need to have that mark here as well. So we're going to do that as well, right here. And I'm doing it to the thickness of the wood on the sides, because remember, these sides are going to fit in there. So it only needs to be this thick right here. That's how thick it needs to be. That's why I make that line right there. All right. We have these good to go. I'm going to just color this one in, and then I'll show you what we do. So we'll get this first one done here, and typically what I like to do is start just inside my pencil mark, and then work my way out and clear the largest amount of wood that I can, or that I need to, and then I'll come back, and if I need to make it a little bit wider to accommodate the thickness of this, I will. Just note that when you use a pencil, when I set a board against here, right, and I make a pencil line like this, well, I'm not drawing exactly on that line, right? That pencil has width, and that width is just outside. So if I take my cut and start that just on the inside of where that pencil mark is, that should accommodate for that. That's theory. In practice, not always the case. Oh, Dennis is back. Hey, Dennis is back from West Virginia, and it's lunchtime. Welcome, Dennis. We're going to do some cutting. So enjoy as I make myself a nice rabbet cut right here. I think we are all lined up. Let's make a rabbet cut, shall we? All right. Got my little remote here for the dust collection. I'm going to make sure that I get this lined up exactly where it needs to go. All right, and then I'm going to hold that, start the saw, and then make the cuts. All right, that's the first one done. And just to show you how we're going here, so this is the back right here. So this would be facing out. This will sit in here and will fit just like this. So this is the, well, if I get it squared up, there we go. So this is the joint we're making right here. This is a rabbet right here. You can see how that fits in there nicely. If I get a tiny bit of overhang there, that's fine because I will trim that off. I have enough room in here that it's not like a thousandth of a millimeter precision on this. I've got enough room to allow myself some slop in there. And by slop, I mean like this is there's like a 30-second overhang, which is fine because I will clean it up with a, I don't know, a hand plane or something. But I mean, I don't want to go too far in, but you can see this cut I made is just repeated cuts across there. I will clean that up also. I've got a hand plane that is made just for cleaning up those kind of cuts. But that's the joint that we're making right there. And you can see that's really nice, fits together really well. And that's how we work. Now, to do this, I make sure that that side is down, swing this around. There's my mark right there. Line that up with the tooth here. And I always like the tooth that's kind of angled towards this way. And then I can put that on here, put that right where it needs to be, and we'll do it again. So here we go. Switch this now. Okay. So if you saw me going back over that again, if there's any slight twist or anything in your boards, you really want to make sure that you have a lot of pressure running on this edge right here so that it's flat. And I think I was holding it here and that didn't work out well. So you really want to make sure you're flat here because you want this to be cut as square across here as possible so that when you put this in, it's going to look good. That's two of them done. So if you look right here, now there are two. And like I said, this is the most simple of the bases. So this one gets this kind of joinery on all of it. It looks really nice when it's like all fitted, and you can see that these look really nice here. And then what I'll do is I'll do the cuts on these, and then we'll be good to go. So let's do this last board here, and then we'll kind of put it all together, and you'll see exactly how all this kind of comes together. So this one's done, and you can see basically I have this wing here now. So I have the overhang here and the overhang here. And this is the back of the base right here. This being the front, I always want to make sure that I can see that logo as I'm making these cuts, and that lets me know that I'm actually cutting on the correct side. So let me get this one lined up. And I always line it up and then pull it back so you're not trying to start the saw into your wood there. So. And I could flip it around and just start it, but I want to make sure I'm starting in that exact place where I want. And so that kind of requires me to stop the saw and align it on the blade and then go back to do it. All right, that in a nutshell is how we do the joinery for the sewing machine. So this is the front. We'll put that in the front right here so you can see it. We will take the sides. I'm going to take side 1, put it right here. Side 2, we'll put that one with the handles out right here. Then we'll take the back, put those together, kind of do it like this. But anyway, then what I will do is pop this into some clamps. I will clean these out. I have a, let me show you. I have a hand plane, which is basically called a router plane, which is made specifically for that. So this is the router plane right here. And I will take this little blade right here and lower it to the exact depth that I need to, and then clean up any of the rough saw marks on here, and that will make them smoother. But you can see that basically this joinery right here is complete. Just needs to be glued. So I will glue these up, these corners, and then clamp them. And I have a specific way that I clamp them, and then we're all done. So that's kind of how these are made. Avenging Pineapple. Hey, how you doing, Avenging Pineapple? I had to slow down to read your name. So welcome to the channel, and you're watching on Twitch. So very cool. Welcome to the stream. Have I been making saws? I don't make saws. I'm using the saw. Have I been using the saw for long? This saw I've had for a couple of years now. I can tell you that the quality of your cut is definitely dependent on the saw you have. I could do this whole thing by hand, but I wouldn't want to. That's why I have a saw. Because it can get really crazy. Now that was the only small one that I have. So the other ones here are these larger ones that are going to have the dado cut on them as well. So for those of you who were not here in the beginning, these will go together like this. This is the front with the logo on there that I made. This is the back. There's going to be two sides, just like we had. So with the handles, sides will go in here. We'll make those exact same cuts, but then we have to make a dado cut in here, which will be right here. We'll have to make a dado cut. I have to figure out exactly how far it needs to be. Then we'll make a dado cut to accommodate for the middle piece. So that adds a little bit of complexity to it. It's more about just keeping things straight though. It is really what I find. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay out the cuts for this one. So here's my face board. I'll start with this one because it's easier that way. So I know that I want my marks right here. So when I'm running it through, I know where my mark is. So I'm going to take one of my end boards right here, and I'm going to mark that so that I know where that cut's going to go. And then I use my finger as a guide and then just kind of mark a quarter of an inch down. I just run a line. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. The blade's already set to the right height, so it's not going to cut any deeper than it needs to. But that gives me a visual representation by being able to kind of cross that out. Now, when I make the cut for the other end, remember I have to slide it around, so that line needs to be over here. So we'll do the same thing. And once you do these a few times, it really starts to just become a process. But I will tell you, don't get careless with your measurements and your markings and stuff, because I'm going to use this as the back. If you get careless with your measurements and markings, I can tell you, I don't know how I know this. I've never done it. Heaven forbid I've screwed up anything. more things than I would ever care to admit to. But anyway, yeah, you can certainly screw it up. So turn it, mark it. Usually where I screw up on these, or where I have screwed up, is on the dado cuts. It's just really important to get those dados marked and in the right spots. All right. And we'll mark the dados after we get all of the bases cut here. And let's gotta put that one up there. Let's get this first one marked up here. And let's get the blade right there. All right. So this is the first one with the, and they're all going to have that one that I just cut was the only one that did not have the side storage compartment. Pardon me while I finish the rest of my lukewarm coffee. So all the rest of them are going to have these cuts made with dado cuts to go with them. So that's kind of why we're going to take it kind of slow from this point on and make sure that we get all these done right. All right. Everything looks good. My cut looks good right there. My mark. Let's go. So it takes a little time to get this lined up, but I'd rather do it right and stop the saw and just get it in the exact right spot than to make a mistake. So it doesn't take long. So there's the first one done. Cuts on both sides. Logo up top. Okay, then we look at the back. There's my mark for the first one right here. That's why I mark those things in the first place with the pencil, so I can find them easy. I don't have to go searching around and figure things out. So laying things out ahead of time, I find, is just for me, best way to do it. Here's my mark. Okay, last one on here, and then we'll do the dado. All right, so now we get to the part where it gets a little tricky and I need to be really careful with my measurements. So what I gotta do is I've taken this is the back of the board, this is the outside facing area. So I want that facing me. This is the front, it's gonna face you in the camera. I'm gonna put these together. And then I'm gonna find a mark that is, I need to make a mark, my interior space needs to be 14 3/4 inches. So I need to have my opening, which is where the edge of that middle board is going to come across here from this mark right here, which is going to be from basically the edge here to here. I'm going to make a mark that is 14 3/4 inches long. So 14 3/4 inches, I'm just putting the mark here. Okay, now, a couple different ways I can do this, but usually what I like to do, now here's the thing, these marks, these dados I'm going to make have to be on the same size as those original cuts. So I don't want to cut on this side of the board, I want to cut on this side of the board. And I don't want to cut over here, I want to cut under here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little mark here. Now this is going to get a little weird. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a minute, but I'm going to draw that line right here. So that gives me my 14 3/4 inch depth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my board. This is the board that's going to go in the middle. I actually wrote a letter M on there because I know this one is designated to go in the middle. It's not, because see, these all have handles already in them. So I'm not going to use one of those. This one was cut to go in the middle. I'm taking this right on that line, putting it here because this is the thickness of the dado I need to cut. And then I'm using this to run a line on the inside here. Now here's where it gets a little weird. I can't see this line if I'm cutting because what happens is I have to turn it this way. And also, oh, you know what else is weird? I did it wrong. So see, this is, ooh, I didn't do it wrong. I did it on the wrong side. So I like to have the storage on this side of the logo. So here's my logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around. We're going to do this again. So in case you missed it, here's what we're going to do. I like to have the logo, the bulk of the storage, which is where the machine goes. I like to have that on this side of the, here's the logo. I like to have it on this side and then the storage compartment on the right-hand side. So I almost did that backwards. I mean, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but it's certainly not how I would normally choose to do things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up right here. We're going to get that 16 inches again. Now, the other thing I can do is I'm going to flip this board just like that. Flipping this board over, because what that allows me to do now is this. I'm going to get my tape. I'm going to run this down to 14 3/4 inches. Because that's how much opening I need. I need 14 3/4. That hasn't changed. Definitely need 14 3/4. Hopefully this all makes sense when I'm done. So there's 14 3/4 inches. Then I'm going to get my, I'm getting my square here. I'm lining that up on that mark. And I'm marking this line right here, 14 3/4 inches. I'm taking my middle piece of wood, shoving it right against there. And we're doing the same thing here. And we're just using this as my width. This is going to determine how wide that dado cut's going to be. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw my little 1/4 inch line right on the top here, because I know that I don't want to remove that wood. I want to remove all the wood down here to match this end and this end. And because this is my face up side, I know that this is going to be on the, I'll be able to see this as I pass it through the saw. Same thing with this one right here. This is my face up side. My lines are over here now. So I know that when I make these lines right here, I'll be able to see them when I'm making the cut. They're in the right place. So here's where it gets a little tricky. Like if that wasn't tricky enough, right? Here's where it gets tricky is that I will start the cut and then I have to get it close to where it wants to be, and then I have to sneak up on it. So I'm going to put this right where it needs to go. And we're going to make cuts all the way across just like we did last time, but the big difference is that I'm going to stop before I get to the end, and then we will measure with our piece of wood So we'll use this piece of wood right here because this is going to be the middle piece. I'm going to measure and then just keep nibbling away until it fits in there nicely. I don't want it to be too loose. It needs to be a tight fit, but not so tight that I have to like wedge it in because you have to account for glue and stuff. So anyway, let's just watch and see what happens. Woo, so close. All right. That's kind of how it works. I just basically keep, and you can see that I now have, this is called a dado cut because a dado is basically a groove that goes across the grain. That's a dado cut. And you can see that that dado right there is really nice. I mean, it's nice and tight in there. There's no wiggle room. Now this piece is not the same. This is not the same width as this piece, so it doesn't quite fit right there, but that's okay because it will fit in the end. But my cut right here, my dado cut, is really, really nicely fit. And that's what I mean by sneaking up on it. I don't just cut to that line and go, oh, there it is. I need it to be really tight, so I just take tiny, tiny little bites until I get it just right. I will now do the exact same thing on this side. And but you can see that now this, yeah. So now this is the front, and now I've got a dado cut right here. So the dado will go in here like this, and then I'll have the two sides like this. And that creates a storage compartment right here. Hopefully you can see that. All right, let's go and do this one because we have one more in the back. Hang on. Oh, yeah. So if this is the back, hang on, I have to get this right in my head. So the back and the cut would be right here. So yeah, just don't want to be confused when I'm doing this. So I get this one started in the right spot, and then I cut away most of the wood and then sneak up on it. All right. Now we have this done. And this one is finished. So this one is going to be glued. Now I don't glue this centerpiece in to start with. That's the last piece that gets glued. And there's reasons for that, but I just want to show you how this all goes together now. Like this. So I glue in the side pieces first. But in general, that is a finished base right there. That's what it looks like. You can see that it has, so it has, oh, well, hang on, I did it upside down. There we go. So it'll have a handle on this end. There is a, kind of hard to keep together because it's not glued. I'm dropping pieces over. There's a handle on this end. And yeah, so that's really what it comes down to for the joinery. It's not overly complicated. This is the same joinery that Singer used for years and years and years in their bases. And most of that joinery still is holding up to this date. It didn't fail in the joints. It always failed somewhere else. So this joinery works really well. I do more stuff. I do big roundovers on the corners and other such things. But as far as the joinery goes, these things, put some glue in there, they're ready to go. So this one is done. And you can see these are my cuts right here. So you can see the cuts that I made. This right here is the dado cut. So passes through across the grain. That's why it's a dado. This is a rabbet because it's the edge of the board. So even though it's the same cut and the same width as this, because it's on the edge of the board right here, that's considered a rabbet cut, not a dado. There's your difference. Potato, potato. It's all cuts. The nice thing is that as I make these cuts, the saw blade depth never changes. Because I make these things with 3/4 inch boards, because that's how much I mill these boards down to 3/4 of an inch. So really, my dimensions never change from base to base. And that helps me keep things nice and consistent. So we're just going to keep plowing through here. I need to do the end boards here. Does this one have a B on there? See, now I did this one weird. I don't know why. I wrote back on this one, but this one ended up being the front. So it shows you how much attention I paid, but it doesn't really matter. This one was front, but we're going to call this one back now because, you know, I'm going to write a big B on here and draw an arrow so that I know, even though this is the back, I want this side to be up. And that just kind of helps me keep things straight. But I need to do the same thing. I need to make those, I need to make the 1/2 inch. So this one's going to sit like this on the table saw. So I need to bring one of these in and draw my line. And fill that in. And then do the same thing over here. So turn it. So this is the hardest part doing the whole thing, is just keeping all these repetitive cuts straight in my head so that it is easy to kind of get off track with these things sometimes. And just really just keep everything straight in my head. Okay, now this is my, my logo. So I want this facing up. So I'm going to do this side. Tell you, wearing these headphones, not great for my noggin right now. I'm starting to feel a little soreness in my head from where I had my little concussion the other day. At least I think it was a concussion. Nobody ever confirmed that it was a concussion. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, so we'll see if he confirms that I had a concussion. I mean, you know, I was unconscious. I know that. I don't know if that means I had a concussion or not. Does that mean you have a concussion if you're unconscious? No one ever actually said, so I'm not sure. Kind of strange that way, right? All right, so same thing. I'm going to find my little mark here. I like my little sawtooth that's angled in. There's one right there. I'm going to put that just to the inside of my pencil mark. Right there. All right, let's start cutting. That was not on my foot spot. That's on my. All right, so there's one, two. All right, so just like the last one, we've got both of the ends now, and you can see these fit in here really nicely. Let me check this one. So all these boards fit into their respective slots really nicely here. Move this back, and I'll put this one in here. There we go. So now we have all of our joinery for the edges, for the corners, right? That's all done. Those are the rabbets. I'm going to take these out. Now, remember that I said I like to have that opening for the storage on the right side. So I want to have this logo facing me. I find out where that storage is going to go. It's going to go on this side right here. And then I will flip these up and then measure my 14 3/4 inches, because that is that's the opening where this machine is going to sit. It's going to sit in a 14 3/4 inch space. So I'm going to come over here, measure this out as precisely as I can. Okay. And then I'm just going to draw this line right here. Now, I'm doing this right here for this one. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this board, because remember, I need to be able to see this mark when I'm cutting across the table. So now I can draw both of these where they need to go, which is right here. And then I'm going to take the piece that's going to go in the middle, which is this one right here, which doesn't have an M on it, which is really stupid of me. That goes in the middle. I'm going to put this right on the mark here. Okay, I'm going to put this right up against my my ruler there and use the width of this board to determine how thick this dado cut's going to be. I'm going to draw those lines. Okay. I'm going to put this over here. And then same thing, I'm going to make these cuts and sneak up on them as I go. I'm also going to draw my little 3/4 of an inch or 1/4 inch line there and then fill this in so that I can really visualize before I make the cuts where the wood is going to be coming from when I hog all this material out of here. There we go. And then logo facing up, compartment on the side. There's my dado. Let's start with that one. I always like to get that one out of the way first. I mean, this one, you know, if I do the wrong side, it doesn't matter because there's nothing on there. This one, if I screw it up, I'm pretty much dead in the water. So I like to get this one done first. It's just kind of the way I like to roll. Now, here's the deal on this. What time is it? I might do a couple more of these, and then probably what I will do is just checking to see if my son left for work. He did not. Give me just a second. I'm going to be right back, okay? I'll be right back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. It's like I didn't know if my son was supposed to work today or not. And I was like, oh, he's going to have to leave in just a minute. He's like, no, I'm off today, Dad. Sorry. All right. It's just one of those things, you know. Anyway, let me get this lined up. Let's make some dado cuts here, shall we? So I've got this lined up now. All right. Get that blade right there. Now these are the ones I have to sneak up on. So I've got my middle board right here that I can check the measurement on. Ooh. Besides dropping the middle board there. All right, that one's done. Let me come back to this one now. Find my mark, which should be right here. There it is. Get this one lined up and put it right in the middle, right there. Okay, on we go. Nailed that one. Not sure how, but I did. Got that one perfect, like second cut. I'm just going to put these together just to make sure everything looks good. I usually like to do this as I'm putting them together here. What I might do here, instead of making you watch me cut all of these, there's the middle slot and there's the other two. So this one looks really good. What I might do for these is to, that one actually not bad. I might do one more long one and then I probably will glue them. I'll put them in clamps because I can't glue them all at the same time. I don't have nearly enough long clamps to do this with. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3. Well, I have 3 of them right here. Let's do one more. We'll do one more long one right here. And if I can grab it out of here, we'll do one more long one, and then we will start. Yeah, that'll be good. And then I'll go ahead and get them in glue. I'll get them in clamps so that y'all can see how I actually clamp these things together. Because like I said, I kind of have to have some in clamps going already because I can't do all of them. All right, this one right here, we need to do the end. So get one of the end boards, draw my lines. This is one of the oak bases right here. So this way. Make sure you're standing on end. Yeah, all of these bases kind of different types of wood, and they have different cutting characteristics too. Oak, especially white oak, and this is quarterstone white oak. So this stuff's really stable, but it's very, very hard wood. It's not a total pain to work with, but there are easier. Okay, this is the back. And I want this to be, no, that's the square end. Okay. I'm kind of just, hang on a second. We want this to be back and up this way. There we go. Just trying to get my reference points. Oh, wait, no. It has a little mark in the wood. That's why I had it going the other direction. So I did know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing. There we go, because this is a clean edge here. This has a little mark in the bottom. I don't care if that's on the bottom of the base, but I don't want that to be a showpiece mark on the top of the base. So, okay, and we're gonna, so we will do these rabbet cuts on the beginning of this board. Flip it around. And then when we get done, we will do one more set of dados on here. And then I will pull out the clamps and show you how I clamp these. It's not overly complicated, but you want to make sure you do it right because you only get one chance. It's just one chance to screw everything up. That's the way I look at it. All right, so got to make the rabbet cut here, just inside my line right there. Right there. All right, let's go make some rabbets. All right, all the rabbets are cut. They look wonderful. Perfect. I need to find my middle piece right here. And then I need to figure out where, once again, that line is going to go for 14 3/4 inches. So I'm going to get my tape measure. We're going to measure this off here. And I'm going to measure my 14 3/4 inches. And I'm measuring from the inside. You notice I'm measuring this from the inside of this rabbet because that's where the opening for the base starts. Remember, this is where the board goes. So there's going to be a board sitting in here. So I need that measurement to start right here. That's why I hook it inside there and start that measurement from there, because I'm measuring for the opening of these bases. Pencil a little longer. Okay. And I've got that mark. So now what I'm going to do is flip this one over so that I always have the area that is going to be facing the saw marked. I'm going to make my line for this one. So right here, right here. And I don't want to move this. I'm going to grab that middle board, put it right against there, and then draw for the width of the dado cut. So I've got the starting spot marked by my right angle edge here, my woodpecker mark right here. And I push this against that, and then I mark the width of the dado. And once I'm done, take this board out, can move this, and then I just finish, like I said, I'd make that little line across the top here, and then draw out the little area where I'm going to be hogging away the wood. And that should match up with what's over on this side in terms of what part of the wood the cut's coming out of. So, and because this faces the saw, I can just see it this way. This one as well, I'm looking at it just like this. It's perfect. So I'm going to just draw these out here. All right, let's go ahead and make these last cuts here, and then we'll start gluing. So chat disconnected. Please wait until we try to reconnect you. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again. Did I lose my chat on, what did I lose? My YouTube? I lost YouTube chat? Window, Facebook? Facebook chat's still open, I think. Hang on a second, I'm gonna check something real quick. It says I lost my chat here. Let me go back to YouTube and look. It looks like it's still up and running, so not sure. Dennis, did I lose you? Are you back from lunch yet? Or did you go back to work? Looks like everything's still up and running. Looks like my feed is still good, so I'm not sure, but hopefully everything is working here. Yeah, everything looks good. All right, well, I'm going to go back to doing what I'm doing. Like I said, everybody looks like it's good here, so I'm not sure why it says I lost the chat, but hopefully not. Let me go back to this page real quick, and I'm just going to reboot this page real quick. Sometimes it's my browser, it's not the broadcast, so. But it is kind of doing some weird stuff here. So I don't know if it's like being really slow on the uptake. Maybe my my interwebs is down. Who knows? Internet does weird things around here sometimes. Let me just check here real quick. I can do a I don't know, like a speed test or something, because that's not working actually. That did not work out right. Why did this not work out right? YouTube. Can't reach the speed test. Wow, did my internet go down? Perhaps my internet went down. That could be interesting. Oh, I think my internet's down. Good God, are you kidding me? I think my internet's down. Are you freaking kidding me? Thinking my internet is down. Are you freaking kidding me? All right, well, I'm going to hit the be right back because, you know. I have no idea what's going on. I went to my other computer and everything's up and live, so I'm not sure what's going on, if it's just this computer or what. But it was weird because my phone wouldn't connect to anything either, so who knows? You know, weirdness. It's the internet, it's the digital age. Maybe I just close all this and then let me just open a browser again here. But that one, I mean, maybe I need to restart my computer because nothing's connecting on this computer, and that's kind of weird. So maybe I need to restart this computer, and maybe that's what the deal is. So we'll see. Everything's restarting on here. Anyway, I don't need the computer to redo this. We're still rolling here. I'm going to get this cut going because you know what? Time marches on. So must my cuts. So there's the lovely bong from my Apple computer. Let's make some cuts. Oh, just a whisper, whisper. Yeah, light, tight, but I'm gonna go with it. Okay. Okay. So that's better. Let me just look and see if I'm still broadcasting here, because um, it'd be nice to know if I was. It says I'm live. Looks like I'm live. That's at least on Twitch I am. Let me put all this together. So this is upside down. There we go. So this one goes in here. Now this is pretty tight in here, but that's okay. I mean, I can always sand a little off of the edges of this board that goes in the dado too. If it's like super, super tight, I can give a little bit of sanding to it and it'll be good. But that is exactly what we want right there. Now we are matched up. We've got everything in place. We're doing really well. Okay, so give me just, we can go start gluing these up because I've got enough to glue now. Actually, I have more than enough to glue. I'm going to come over here to the workbench and come back to this camera for a second. So I've got 2, 3, 4 of them done now, cut, and that is plenty to, we can get some into the clamps so that you can see how that works. I am going to drag a new window down here. Oops, sorry. I'm dragging a new screen down here, and I'm opening these up just so I can see if there's any comments that I've missed or anything, which I'm sure maybe I have. I don't know what happened. I think it was my computer that just kind of like lost connection. Everything else seemed to be doing good. So I don't think I lost any of the stream. Looked like it was going well. I'm going to pop this one open, make sure that it's muted. There we go. And then I need to do one more. I need to do Facebook, just because I like to have the windows open. So if anybody does say hi, like people have, it's nice to have these things in here. Go to my shop page, And it doesn't take me long to do this, but it's nice to have them open. So hopefully that will show me that I'm live. It does show that I'm live right there. And we're mute you and make it more bigger. Maybe if I can click on that. There we go. There we go. All right, now I can drag this one down and move it over. And I just like to get all my windows lined up so that I can just see the chat windows. We've talked about this before. There we go. All right, so if somebody, Dennis or somebody had said something, I didn't see it probably before, and I apologize for that. Like Dennis's comments in there. I don't know if Dennis is still at lunch or not. Hopefully, Dennis, you had a good lunch. I had a avenging pineapple in Twitch, which was cool because I don't get a lot of Twitch folks in here. So, anywho, I'm going to come back over to the other side over here, and let's see. Let's go back to I think it was this camera. It was, and what I'm going to do is grab a couple of clamps, and I'll show you how I do this. So I do not need this for the moment. I'm going to take this out and put it down here on the side where it goes. And I don't need my ears. So these are large Bessie parallel clamps. These are like the K Revo, the K body Revos is what these are. And you can see that these they're parallel clamps. And what they do really well is they apply equal pressure this way. And so the way I use them, now I'm not going to mess up my saw blade there because it's set to the perfect size, and I still have to cut some more. So I'm just getting these things sized up to the width that they need to be. So what I like to do is when I'm going to glue one of these up is I lay it out like this, okay? And I'm going to glue. Now these clamps right here, what they're going to do is these clamps right here, I'm going to put those underneath, but they're going to apply pressure only on this edge, so it will not completely cover this side right here. Okay, it's going to just start right here to here and put pressure on this inside edge. And the same thing over here. I'm not going to have it covering to the edge. It's going to start where this board goes to and apply pressure there. So it's going to run the length of them and apply equal pressure this way. Then what I will do is I'll apply clamps to the sides to make sure that I'm getting clamping pressure on the edges here. The middle section does not get clamped in right now. It does not get glued. That happens after, because I have to put the bottoms in these things, and the bottom takes up about a little more than a quarter of an inch of space. And I have to account for that by shortening these boards. So they go in after I put the bottoms in, not before. Now I will, excuse me, I will put them in here just to kind of keep the boards positioned right, if you will. But anyway, so I get my trusty bottle of gunked up glue here. I just use standard good old Titebond 2 for this. If I can get this open, maybe, maybe not, who knows. Sometimes I have to actually, oh my gosh. Okay, I have to get a pair of pliers to take this off, which I need a new glue bottle is what I need. This glue bottle has seen better days. So let me, oh, there we go. There's glue inside the glue bottle that's gunked up now. And unfortunately, yeah, it's just to the point where I really need to replace this thing. But let me just get some of the glue off of this. I've got a long needle here that I can pick some of this glue out of here. And the last time I used it, it should be okay. Should be okay. There we go. Big old chunk of glue out of there. And then big old chunks of glue off the edges here of my glue bottle that was keeping it from being opened. And then we can get to gluing here. There we go. All right. Most of that cleaned off now, hopefully. Gunky glue, go away. Put my little my little tip back on here. All right. So when I glue these up, what I'm going to do is I have them all laid out here so that the back and the front, I've got an equal dado going across here. That's really important to make sure that that dado is there. I will take this board and lay it down here, and then set these aside and take this laying across here. Now I'm going to keep all these straight. Now, actually, I'm a little ahead of myself. I am ahead of myself. I have to do one thing before I glue these up. And I was kind of, I did get ahead of myself. I apologize. Before I actually glue these, I need to do one more step. Can you guess what that step is? Can you? Obviously I couldn't. Okay, let's go back over to the workbench and I'll show you what I need to do. I'm only going to do one of these for you all because of this. But what I need to do, move my computer out of the way, come back over here to number 1. So what I need to do is I need to sand the interior surfaces of this. This does not need to be super sanded like the outside, like super smooth, but it does need to be smoothed out a little bit. I mean, it's got marks and stuff on there. I do need to sand these on the interior because it's really hard to sand after it's assembled, at least the inside. I can sand the outside, no problem. Interior sanding is much more difficult to do. So what I'm going to do is just set these up, and I think I will sand to 150. So I have some 120 here. I know I saw some 120 around here somewhere. I saw a 120 grit. Right here's a 120. I will start with the 120. I will do a 120 on the inside, then I'll do a 150. And all I'm going to do is sand the interiors. So this and this and this area right here. I'm going to sand these interiors to 120, and then I will sand them to 150. And then that will give me a good surface for finishing them. I don't do like a super nice finish on the inside. I mean, I do finish them on the inside. It just doesn't get the same level of finish that they do on the outside. Because honestly, it's the inside of the box and nobody looks at it. It's where the sewing machine goes. But I don't want it to look trash either, right? So it does need a little love and care. So let me put on a 120, and then we'll just give these a little bit of sanding love, and then we'll put them in the clamps. But I did forget about that, so I apologize, because I was almost hopping ahead there, and that wouldn't have been good, because then I would have been trying to sand these after they've been made into boxes. All right, I'm going to sand these up, and then we'll do some gluing. All right. Well, that hopefully didn't seem like forever. And that's really all I need is just to, they feel much better on the inside now. They're not as rough. Um, I got rid of the planer marks on there or the jointer marks, whichever these were displaying, and now they're much better. So, and like I said, I'm not doing the inside board yet, so we don't have to worry about sanding that one. We're just doing the main carcass here. So now we can come back and lay this out again. So we've got the back and the front right here. And then we've got a side with a handle here. Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go. It'd help if you could see. So anyway, I laid these back out again. So we've got the back right here. We've got the front right here. I've got a handle on this end and a handle that's going to be on this end. So these are all laid out like this. The middle just sets aside. What I'm going to do now is just put a little glue, and then I'm going to spread the glue out. Now remember, I'm not putting any glue on the dado, just on these rabbets on the ends. So no glue on the dado, just on the rabbets. And I will use the perfect glue spreader for this. So get it covering all of the cut as best as possible. You also don't want to forget this side of it. You can do the big side, but don't forget the narrow side right here, because that actually is all in grain. So you really need to make sure you get that covered in glue because you're trying to get the best joint as possible. That's the problem with this thing is you're doing in grain and you're doing face grain in the same joint. So make sure that you set it down the same way you picked it up so that my dado matches here. Spreading the glue around again and get it squeezed down into the very corner of that joint too. Get that covered there. Get that end grain covered up. That looks good. Trying to keep it off of the inside corners here. Actually, I'm just going to rub this off on the towel here because I got plenty of glue on this joint. But yeah, so I'm just getting this covered, not super thick, just covered. Like I said, if I was going to put it on anywhere thick, it would be in that end grain because it's going to soak up in there anyway. All right. That is all we need for that. Now, what we want to do is just we're going to flip these up and then we're going to make sure that this is the bottoms, make sure our bottoms are down, make sure that our handles are on the bottom, not on the top and not facing inside. Make sure all the sides are facing the correct way. Then we're going to kind of line these up and then just gently press them together. All right, so that glue is already starting just a little bit. Now, what I need to do is get those into the clamps. I can't just lift this because it'll slide all over. If I lift this, those end pieces are going to slide. So what I generally will do is I will get a clamp. This is just a quick clamp. Quick grip bar clamp. These things are pretty cool. But anyway, I'm just going to clamp this together, put some pressure on there, right? That pressure will keep these pieces together and then allow me to pick it up like this without any pieces slipping. Now I can put these in position underneath. So what I'm going to do, rest these like this. I want this edge to be right on that mark right there. So hopefully you can see that. There's wood hanging out of the side right here. This is from this face piece. The only wood this touches is this inboard and it goes right to the edge there. And then I'm gonna slide this back piece up here, hopefully. Slide up, like I said. And it also is going right to that same spot. So I wanna make sure that they are lined up on that, just on the end piece, not on the edge. And then I'm just gonna slowly turn the handle here just to apply a little pressure, not a lot. I just need a little pressure there while I adjust this one. So same thing, I'm putting it right to the edge. I'm gonna slide this one forward. Get it on the edge. And then I'm gonna apply pressure. Okay, now once I have them in place, I can make sure that my boards are lined up and that they're not like this one. I think needs to go down just a hair. Here, hang on a second. I'm gonna get my little mallet. I try to get these things flat, but better to do it now. So that appears to be good. Because I want to make sure that it's not, okay, I've got to loosen this one. I think this needs to come up just a hair. Okay, that's good. Put this back on. I just want to try to make sure that they're equal and not like sticking out too far one way or the other. All right, these look good. I'm going to go ahead and apply more pressure now on the end pieces here, and I'll start to see glue squeeze out coming around the joint because, well, there's glue in there. So, and then I will take this piece right here. I'm going to put it like this and apply clamping pressure. So I'm getting pressure across the joint this way and pressure across the joint this way. I find that this is just the easiest way for me. This is the top of the base. So really what I'm going to make sure is that these little areas where the wood meets in these joints is closed together. If it's open in any place, I need to see about putting clamping pressure there, but these appear to be really nice and square. So clamp that up. The other thing that I do is I grab my square like this, right? And then I will check to see if my base is off kilter a little bit, and it appears to be off just a hair here. So what I need to do is, now part of that is because I'm squeezing these so tight that it's actually bowing the wood, because if it's sticking out on both sides, I'm getting bowing across the board here. So what I need to do for the time being is I've got another clamp here. I'm going to stick this in and I can see, yeah, so I can see right now that this board, actually I'm going to do it this way. So, or however I did this, let's try it this way. Yeah. Anyway, this board right here is sticking out 3/16 away from this. It should not be. So I'm just going to squeeze things back into place here so that these are back and straight again. And because when I apply this pressure along the long edge, well, the boards naturally want to buckle out. That's kind of what they want to do. So by putting this clamp in here, and that's why I use this middle base right here, this middle base. This middle board just allows me to kind of adjust the pressure on the middle of the carcass here, the middle of the frame of the base, to ensure that those boards are staying straight. And once the glue dries, it's fine. But right now, there's a lot of pressure being pushed this way, and that is trying to get them to bow out. So a little clamp on there, they're good to go. And then I can take this and set it on the floor because I don't need it anymore. And I can grab another one and we can just do this all day long. Now here's my problem. I don't have like 1,000 clamps. Like some guys have like 1,000 clamps. I do not have 1,000 clamps. I have 6 of these Revos because they're very expensive. I think I got some of mine at the woodworking show. I'm coming back around to the main camera, by the way. So I got some of mine at the woodworking show a couple of years ago, and I got a good deal on them. But they are not cheap. And I only got 3 at the time. I'm not sure why I got 3. I thought 3 was a good number. But I ended up getting 3 more. And they run about 45 bucks a pop for I think these are the 24-inch ones. So yeah, they run about $45 a piece. So you can see that, that's, what is that, 130 bucks or something like that, if you're going to go 135, if you're going to get 3 of them. And I will tell you though that, and there's other makers of them too. I think Jorgensen makes some. There's a couple of other companies that make parallel clamps. But I have found that in order to get these bases true and square, I really need those parallel clamps. You need that even pressure coming in from both sides that keeps those boards from tilting one way or the other. And these just do the job better than anything else I've tried. And I've tried other ways too, but this is my best method. And so it's what I'm always going to go to. It does limit my capacity because, like I said, I can only glue up 3 at a time, and I still have to have clamps that go across them. And I end up using things like these right here. These are bar clamps. These are Jorgensen bar clamps. So these are cam clamps. They have a little cam gear right here that kind of pushes this way. So I'll use these. I have some other grip clamps that I try to use and stuff. But yeah, I'm not super thick with clamps. So I do the best I can, which means I usually glue in smaller numbers. So I'll do 3 at a time, get those done. I'll work on the other ones. And then hopefully, tomorrow I'll take the ones that are in glue. I'll take them out, or probably later today because I have so many. But I'll take them out of the clamps, put another set in the clamps, and be ready to have them going. They don't need to be in for forever, but I do like to leave them in for a few hours. And I think that gives me enough setting time for the glue to really get a really good bond. And that's really what I'm after, is a really good bond. I have never had a base that has failed on me from a glue joint, or from any joint, really. But specifically from a glue joint, I've never had one of my glue joints fail. And that to me is really important. That comes down to, how people view your products. If your product fails, word of mouth gets around like, oh, don't buy one of those. I had one and it broke right there at the joint. And yeah, you're not going to get a lot of customers that way. So glue up and clamp time to me are one of those, like, it seems like a no-brainer, but they're one of the most critical things that I can control, is doing a really good clamping job. Do a really good glue job, do a really good clamping job, and then give that glue time to work and really time to set and become part of the item. And yeah, it's a small thing, but to me it's a really important thing. And like I said, I've never had one of my bases fail, and I've made, I don't know how many 100 bases or so, never had one fail, and never fail at a glue joint. And that's my whole goal, is to not let these glue joints fail. So Titebond is the glue that I use. This is Titebond 2. This stuff is awesome. It's water resistant, interior, exterior kind of stuff. You can get it wherever. Ace Hardware, Home Depot, Lowe's, Pop's Hardware Store, wherever, Amazon, Woodcraft, everybody carries it because it's good and it works. So that's my choice. I use it for every type of wood project that I do, including guitars and stuff. But there's other good glues out there too. Just give yourself time to make sure your glue sets. And yeah, that's my advice for that. Just do a really good job of gluing and clamping, and don't take it out of the clamps too early. I mean, it's not hurting anything by leaving it in longer, right? So what if it stays an extra 2 hours or so? It's not going to hurt it. Gluing, extra glue time never hurt anything that I know of. Anyway, it's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'm going to go ahead and shut it for now. I mean, it's been a pretty long, we started at 11, so we're an hour and 20 minutes in, so pretty good. I'm going to continue cutting the joints and getting these into the clamps, so that by the time we come back Wednesday, I should have a bunch of glued up bases ready to go for the next step, which should be doing the bottom routes for the bottoms. So we'll do another rabbet around the bottom of the base that goes around the entire perimeter, because remember, now it'll be a box. By the time we get it out, it'll be a whole box. We'll do a rabbet, a 1/4-inch rabbet around the entirety of that bottom of the base. That gives me a shelf wherein I can actually put a piece of 1/4-inch ply to make the bottom of the base. So that's really the next step after. And yeah, all this stuff is just basically just little steps, little steps along the way. Like I said, I almost forgot the one step, which was sanding the interior. It's a little thing, but it's such a time saver down the road, because trying to sand inside after you've already glued it up is more work than you really want to be doing. So taking that extra, I don't know, what did it take us? Less than 5 minutes to sand the interior piece there. That saves a lot of time. So usually what I'll do is I'll get a whole bunch ready for glue up, And then I'll set them over here. I'll go through and sand all of them, and I'll just do all the 120s, and then I'll flip the paper, and then I'll do all of them with 150. And that's usually as far as I take it, is 150. Most of these are pretty smooth. They just need to get rid of some jointer or planer marks on there, and then be, 150 smooth is what I look at it. But that's where I'm going to go to next. I will not be. I will then be off Friday, and then that whole following week, I will not be doing any live streaming. I'll be off for that entire week for live streaming, so no live streaming those weeks. But then I'll be back that following, whatever that is, June, right after Memorial Day. I'll be back. I'll be back here. Well, Memorial Day is a Monday. I'll be streaming on Memorial Day. That's when I'll be back. So come in this Wednesday, check out what we're doing then. And then we'll take a little break and we'll come back on Memorial Day. Life is good. Okay, gang. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed whatever you saw. If you have any questions, whatever, please feel free to send them in the comments or make a comment on the video, or just hit me up on my Facebook/JR's Woodshop page, or wherever you feel confident in sending me a message. Please do so. All of my my contacts or my socials are listed down here in the bottom. They're also listed in the descriptions, at least on YouTube and Facebook. If you're on Twitch, thanks for watching. Come over to my YouTube or my Facebook page, and there's more info there if you need it. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your Monday. I will see you back here on Wednesday. Take care of yourself. Get your shot. Take those masks off. Life is good. See you later.